Okay, we're live.
Hi, thanks for joining us as we talk about trade, supplier, and product compliance at Fastenal Company and how we can align our partnership with our SI suppliers and better meet the needs of the market today. Well, my name is Justin Robarge. I'm the Director of Trade Compliance at Fastenal Company. I've been here for 15 years and oversee our import compliance, export compliance, and global logistics activity, which are front and center when it comes to some of these regulatory needs.
And I'm Jeremiah Littmann. A pleasure to be with you all today. I lead our supply chain compliance teams focused on supplier, product, federal trade compliance. And I've been with the organization 19 years, the last two of which have been leading these teams. So we're excited to talk about the regulatory landscape and what we're working on to mutually support customers here.
Yep. So real high level, we're going to go into some of the highlights that we've seen in the regulatory landscape. And this isn't anything just in the last couple of months. I mean, we've really seen a huge ramp up of requirements over the last couple of years. Dive into a few areas of specific focus, and then kind of wrap up with Fastenal's compliance mission, how we can strengthen our partnership to make sure that we're meeting customer needs. So, as you're well aware, requirements around the regulatory landscape have never been tougher than they are today, right? Whether it's the scope, scale, or accuracy of data, or making sure there's alignment and transparency in certain needs, and be able to share that information both from upstream, downstream to our customers. It really serves as an opportunity both to safeguard our organizations, but also really drive opportunity and enable us to take market share, right? This is one of the biggest demands we've seen from customers in making sure that we can provide that data for their own departments. And success with that helps sets us apart. It reduces issues they have either with regulations, with customs, or with their own customers, and adds value to our collective supply chain. So it cuts across a lot of departments, whether that's trade compliance, supplier compliance, product compliance, and new regulations may come up that have odd overlap between a number of these departments, both within Fastenal's side and then also our customers and our suppliers. So making sure we have key alignment there is absolutely critical. Right? Fastenal's got a very proactive strategy trying to anticipate what regulations are coming down the pipeline. How do we start to prepare for that so that we can roll that out successfully and again continue to drive best-in-class compliance programs that drive value and don't just end up taking up workload or distract from our ability to sell and grow market share. As we look to what we've seen as far as examples of some of this, so I think this slide does a really good job of kind of highlighting the challenges that we've collectively faced over the last couple of years, whether that's short-term disruptions, long-term regulatory requirements. Each of these have hit Fastenal's business in some way, shape, or form. Some of which required, extensive work to make sure that we're prepared for, have the right depth of data, can communicate, and then have alignment both within our own organization, but also across our supply chain partners to make sure that we can manage this and drive our business forward.
Justin's snapshot lays out the majors that we've kind of seen right collectively together, but we thought we'd just share some insight. This is from our relationship with compliance and risks and a software called C2P that geographically we're challenged across all our different business units with an ever increasing burden on these regulations. So believe us when we say it, we feel for you and we know we ask a lot, but it's because it affects all of us equally here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few specific examples. We look at country of origin. This one's been an area we've had a lot of campaigns and trying to dial in our data a lot recently. It could be anything from trade programs looking at made in America, made in Canada, making sure that we have the right alignment. Do we know the parts that are compliant with that or potentially not compliant? And then do we have the data and documents to back that up so we can survive scrutiny from customs authorities? And there's a lot of demand on these type of programs because there's value for customers being able to set aside that portfolio that we've got a high degree of confidence in really drives value for the customers and sets Fastenal apart. And we've seen examples where we have a good program around it, is extremely well received, and it just opens up more market share. In a similar vein, looking at things like country of melt, right? This is something that I don't think our organization had as much focus on in the past, because from a compliance perspective, it wasn't as critical. Now with some of these changing regulations, getting beyond just the country of origin and diving into the details of country of melt, again, is critical as we move parts constantly across borders. Each of those jurisdictions may have different, or different programs around how we track, document, and then submit information around country of melt. Supply chain transparency has also been a big area of focus, looking to make sure that our goods are not made with forced labor. We can document and report that we get good control programs in place. And of course, Fastenal is not manufacturing most of the goods we distribute. We're looking for that partnership with our suppliers to make sure that there's programs upstream that help meet that need, that we've got visibility into high risk parts, high risk regions, high risk inputs, to make sure that we're well covered, and then we can share that information downstream with our customers so that they've got a good degree of comfort with the controls over our supply chain. And just collaborating those mitigation strategies, right? And adapting that playbook as things change going forward. Could change tomorrow for what we need to focus on and what's the biggest risk within our collective supply chain. So again, like I mentioned, we're expecting this to be kind of a dynamic situation and constantly changing as we look to that next area of risk. And so it's not about having that set in stone. It's about having that adaptability and that relationship and that transparency and communication to align our organizations.
On the product compliance side, the big news probably stretching across organizations is the relationship with Ascent Compliance. So this allows Fastenal to get on a world-class platform that documents and controls tied to regulatory outreach in certain instances on when we have to report, like conflict minerals, but ensures that we get in a cadence that these SKUs and these products are not left behind. So I encourage you to go into the portal. If you're on this video, you've got parts within scope. Fastenal had loaded over 80% of our sales within there. And we're looking to reach out through REACH, ROSE, TSCA, Prop 65, PFAS, and full material declarations where applicable. It's just the most efficient way for us to meet all of our regulatory compliance needs at a product level. And as I had mentioned on those topics, I figured I'd take some time to break down the two different paths here. Because I know there's some concern about the amount of work that might go into this, and also, hey, I've provided yes or no to, let's say, Prop 65 in the past. Although that may be true, a simple yes, no is not really at the level of a professional compliance program. We need to declare substances in a professional manner. And the way you do that is through an outreach program, through Ascent, that you either provide the full material declaration, which is done at the component level, and for a more complex non-commodity part, that can be harder. I understand that. That's why you do have a secondary option of answering restricted chemical questions. Through those, it gets mapped to a CAS number, which is a chemical abstract service number. It's a U.S. database of all chemical substances and globally recognized at that point. Because of that, we're able to say yes or no. It does contain and create a declaration for that, or does not contain and is below a certain threshold. Ascent's platform does all that for us within there in that outreach standpoint. And when we get done with that, we're going to have a PDF document that we're able to publish. And our plan is to put that through on fastenal.com behind the firewall, and also in our Fastenal point of sale system. So it's easily handled by both customers in a self-service environment and our Fastenal branches. And as I had mentioned, between the two different options, so the full material declaration, if you do not have FMDs ready today, that is a heavier upfront lift because it requires generating it at the SKU level. The positive to that is that as the regulations change and in the future, and new chemicals are added or removed, changed, whatever it might be, the thresholds, we can self-declare at that point because we've got the full material declaration. There is also an allowance for certain chemicals that are industry trade secrets within there because it's done by weight. And when that happens, we can still utilize that information if it's under a certain threshold. On the restricted chemical questions, These are where you would go through by SKU or by category, and you can do mass uploads, answer the specific questions, and that allows the output through the software to say whether it's restricted or not, and the declaration being created. So as I had mentioned, this might be an easier way up front, particularly if your organization's not set up to complete FMDs. It does require that these maintain and be updated in the future, and Fastenal and Ascent will ping you as new chemicals are added to these regulations into the future. I want to make the point that, again, that mass uploads are allowed to happen. It can be worked out with Ascent's compliance support team at compliance support at ascent.com, excuse me. And if you're not getting traction there, you need additional inside help, Fastenal's material declarations at fastenal.com can step in and help bridge that gap. At the end of the day, our mission is pretty simple here between Justin and my team. It's really about creating confident compliance, and that's our tagline. We want trust and integrity in what we're doing for our customers. And because of that, our supply chain solutions and being that strategic supply chain partner together with you, we're able to unlock a lot of doors mutually. And that means increased sales revenue, and we take market share. We become a frictionless organization to do business with, particularly with OEM customers and larger customers, of which is our target of late, right? So we appreciate all the work you put into supporting both of our teams. This has been an ever-changing environment, and it involves us all being flexible. But with that communication and the support, just know that behind the scenes, we're setting up and have been a world-class supply chain partner. This is just part of that evolution to get there. And when we look at that, we mitigate risk for everybody involved and grow revenue and sales. So with that, Justin and I want to thank you. A lot to cover here, and we know this wasn't meant to be about each individual compliance topic. Every business that you have is slightly different, and depending on what you're engaging us on, please reach out to myself or Justin. It doesn't matter on the topic. We'll route it together, but our contact information is here on this slide, and thank you again.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the partnership. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.